Happy What We Watch Wednesday. Come on in, come on in. Come on up, Sergio. Come on up, come on up. Happy What We Watch Wednesday. We are here. Thank you for joining us. We're going to talk. We're going to have the conversation today. Welcome, Tej. It's the Wednesday before the holiday, however you celebrate this holiday. Very excited. We are in year 4 of What We Watch. We are in year 4 of What We Watch. We've been talking about all your favorite films and TV shows for 4 years now. Y'all have been rocking with me. We've been able to sustain this beautiful community and organization that gets you closer to film and television. So very excited. 4 years. There's a lot to be thankful for today, tomorrow, and every day after tomorrow as well. Thankful for this community, thankful for all the film and TV that brings us closer together. And enjoy your families and everything tomorrow. Very excited. But let's get right into it because they got us ready for Gladiator II. Okay, they got us ready for it. Gladiator came out over 20 years ago. Okay. They got us ready for Gladiator 2. They said, go ahead and drop the sequel. And Tej, we went and watched the sequel. We did. We watched Gladiator 2. And a lot of things happened in that film. A lot of things happened. We had a great time. I wanted to first just focus on Denzel for a moment. The reason why is that movie stars are movie stars for a reason. If you've been on the internet at all and tapped in at all, Denzel has made quite a few comments, has done quite a few interviews. He's going to be 70 in December, and he's been at the top of his game for 40 plus years. Okay. Almost 50 years. There's nothing that you've done for 50 years. There's probably nothing that you're going to do at the top of your game for 50 years. That is a unique situation. And I just want to talk about how we feel about Denzel in this role and in his previous roles. How are we feeling? Tej, talk to us.
Well, Denzel is the greatest. I mean, he's literally the greatest of all time, and seeing him have that much fun speaking in a New York accent, even though he's in ancient Rome, was just a treat. And he's phenomenal. He's always the most fun person you see on screen, and that is not different in this film.
Yeah, I wonder, when you're in the booth, you're on set with a veteran, it must be really hard to like just even halfway keep up. I mean, this guy's been doing this for longer than you've been alive. Like, he won his first Academy Award before I was even born. So it's just exciting. I wanted to get into how he performed in this role versus the last 2 films that he's been in. And I want y'all to really, this is what we watch. Catch us on YouTube. Everything you say will be on YouTube, and we're going to have the conversations. And I think, Denzel is such a special man. If we think about what he's given us over the last couple of years, it's Tragedy of Macbeth, and then the other sequel for Equalizer. And then now we have him, here in Gladiator 2. And you have to understand, at 70 years old, I want you to remember what Denzel was doing at 70. He's on set, he's acting down, he's making these roles, or he's having these roles, and he's, making these films watchable because of his talent and he's just a veteran in the game. And, I loved Tragedy of Macbeth, and I think you missed out if you didn't get to see that in theaters. I hope they run it back. I'm probably correct. They're probably going to run it back because I usually get what I want. I have a good pulse on the industry here. They're probably going to run that back. It's one of Denzel's favorites. Before Tragedy of Macbeth, does anyone remember what Denzel did before Tragedy of Macbeth?
Was
Because
it Equalizer
after,
3?
what'd you say?
Was it Equalizer 3, or was that after?
That was after. Yeah. So Tragedy of Macbeth. and then it was Equalizer 3, and then it was Gladiator 2. And so we're Denzel doesn't just do any kind of role. And so in this movie, it felt like, and for better or worse, it felt like Denzel was on a different plane in this film. It felt like he was just, TG already kind of threw your shade out there, but he's a special man, but I wonder what happens when you put him in a film um, with Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, and you let him cook. It's kind of tough. You have to step up. It's like you being on the court with LeBron, Tej. Like, you might not even be that bad at hooping, but you might look a little, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're in the NBA, you're fine. You got it. There's nothing bad, but I mean, you're up against, and not against, but you're on the court with Denzel. Dan, how do you feel about Denzel Washington and his passing projects?
I always tell my kids that Denzel's the greatest, and they haven't seen enough of his movies to understand why I'm right. But you said he was in a better movie, right? He was in a better movie, and I thought it was a fine piece of filmmaking, I guess, but the story was kind of weak. And I thought, just thinking about Paul Mescal, who I thought was fine, but like he just doesn't have that juice. Like you look at, I mean, obviously no one has a juice like Denzel, but just looking back at Russell Crowe was like at the peak of his movie star powers, and like you need that charisma to jump off the screen.
Yep.
And Pedro Pascal is probably a little better at that than his, the guy on Mescal. But I don't know. It was Denzel was awesome, and the movie had some fun parts, and I don't understand why he did CGI animals, because otherwise it looked great.
Dan, let me tell you something.
It's because monkey dogs don't exist.
Yeah, what the fuck was that too? Like,
Dan, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. You're not wrong at all. I agree with everything you're saying. Teach. Feel free to chime in. We're gonna tell the truth.
I'm not with y'all on this one. Obviously, he's no Denzel. Nobody is, but I thought Mescal did a perfectly fine job. I wasn't blown away by his performance, but it by no means took away from my experience with the movie. I have other issues with the movie that come way before Mescal's performance. So I'm not. I know a lot of people are out on Mescal's performance. I'm not.
You just said exactly what we said. You are completely with us. That's exactly what we said. I don't know why you.
His performance is a plus to the film to me, not a minus. That's where I think I disagree with y'all, because
You said he was perfectly fine. He didn't blow you away, and it's hard to be next to Denzel.
How many people have you seen on screen next to Denzel that completely blown you away? Because I can name maybe 4.
That's
ever.
what I'm saying. That's what we're saying. He just didn't have the star power comparatively to Russell Crowe, and comparatively to being on screen with Denzel. I think that's just a fact. I don't think it necessarily took away from the film, but it would have been a better film if we had somebody that goes a little bit more.
Okay, but who is that? Who is that could not get watched up by Denzel? You got to name that person. Who's that person?
I
was trying to think of that, and I couldn't think of someone in the right age group that really has that kind of power right now. Like,
that is a
Ryan Gosling's too old. He's like my age.
Who?
Ryan Gosling. He's too old to do that kind of thing.
No, Tej, you know how I feel about Ryan Gosling. It's the same way I feel about. No, I actually changed my mind about Glenn Powell. I think
he's younger, I guess. I don't know.
I think while Paul Mescal didn't take away, he also didn't add to the film. And I could think of quite a few people, but I want the audience to speak on it because I'm going to get into my bag. I'm very tapped in to the white male lead that I do not like, that a lot of people like, and that I do like that not enough people like, quite frankly. I see, Robert, you want to come up on stage. Talk to us, Robert.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to hop in about the point of what younger actors probably could share the stage or share the screen with Denzel and be good. Austin Butler was one that came to mind. I think
and be great, because I don't think Paul Mescal was bad. I think he was just fine.
Not at all. I think he did a perfectly fine role. But like everybody said, there's Denzel. Denzel is like S pure acting. And Paul was like B tier, which is not bad. Most people wish to be B tier, but
Hello.
Denzel is S tier. So it's just,
Put
it's a different
yourself,
level.
exactly. Put yourself in a position, you're at work and someone reads your work and they're like, this was a perfectly fine job. Don't lie. You're not going to be like, thank you, I'm so excited, that was great. You're going to be like, okay, cool, I did what I needed to do. It ain't nothing special. Probably not going to get a big bonus, big promotion, but cool. Cool, I'm glad I was able to be perfectly fine. But there's probably some stuff to work on. I could probably shine even more in the next role. And Dan, I'm just glad you introduced it. I agree with the Austin Butler. I got a couple more for you. Bubbly Brown, if you want to come up to stage, talk to us. Tej, you know film well. There's a lot of white male buff leads, and you don't have to be buff. You know, everybody prepares for their roles. I'm curious as to what Denzel did to prepare for this role. He don't really have to do too much. He's always prepared for any role, clearly. Go ahead, Tej. And Bubbly Brown, come on up.
I think that Mescal was good. I do not think that very many people in that situation would be good. I think there are other, obviously, we have our pick of white male leads. There are a million of them, or a dime a dozen. Uh, Someone who's going to have the star power and be able to have the gravitas to pull off the performance. I just think that list is extremely short. And Chalamet is not swallowed up. He looks like the dude from Dune. He don't look like the dude from Gladiator. Like I don't know who you're putting there. Now, whether you're saying that this person has to be white, obviously he does because of the plot of the movie, which we can get into. But so he's got to be white, and I don't know who you're putting there. I don't know who you're putting there.
Let's talk about why he has to be white. Where do we draw the boundary on suspending disbelief? Where do we draw it? Because some may draw it at the CGI monkey, dog, raw claw people, things, animals, beasts. Others might draw it at the sharks. Maybe I draw it at that he didn't have to be white. Why? Where do we actually draw it? Because Tej, you and
Well,
I had a conversation. Here's the thing: we all draw our own lines wherever. You know, I can't help but think of Kendrick. We all gonna draw our lines where we want to draw the lines. Me personally, I was cool with the monkey dogs. Y'all had too many problems with the monkey dogs for me. I was fine with them. Leo, welcome. Come on up. I know you had a lot to say. I couldn't wait to hear what you had to say. Tej, where did you draw the line? Because you said you had other gripes. Where was your line drawn? Where was it drawn?
well, overall, I had a good time with the movie. I think it's a solid B movie. Um, I just thought it was the most predictable film that Ridley has ever made, and it basically tracks the script of the first film. I think that one of the things that's so interesting about the first movie is that it's pretty heavily implied that the Lucius character is the actual offspring of the Maximus character, but it's never confirmed. It's never something that is said. It's never something
Very
that's
heavily
confirmed.
implied.
It's
Very heavily implied.
implied. And in fact, I know a lot of people who are my age, which means they watched this movie no less than 30 times, who did not walk away from the movie thinking that that was his son, but I always thought it was. So they didn't try to make that to be a cliffhanger. In fact, I think in the last trailer, they have a line of the movie saying that he is the son. So they didn't try to hide that fact. But
Mm-hmm.
I just thought the whole movie was so predictable from the very first minute. I turned to Monique in like the third minute of the film, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's Paul Mescal's wife. Yeah, she's 100% dying. Like, soon as she put on her face makeup, and you know that she's going to battle too, like she's dead." And I just felt like every beat of the movie was so predictable. But Ridley can really put action on screen. I love the action sequences. I think the movie looks great, CGI aside, and I had a pretty good time with it. But I just didn't think it was that great of a movie outside of the Denzel performance, which I thought was just fucking phenomenal.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think it's necessary to have just a movie. I think those are important. If you ever see my movie and it's just a movie, I'm not going to be sad about it. It's just another movie. I think those are important. The problem is, I didn't want Gladiator 2 to be that. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I didn't want Gladiator 2 to be just another movie. It wasn't marketed to me like that. I was excited to see Denzel. A lot of people didn't see Denzel in his last fucking amazing film, which is Tragedy of Macbeth. I was very excited. Equalizer 3,
That's just a movie.
we can be honest. We can be honest. it's a movie.
It was
You
better
watch,
than 2,
you watch
I
it.
think.
You watch it tomorrow with your family in the background while it's playing, and you talk about Denzel for 5 hours as you should. I think it's necessary to have just a movie. I think film and cinema needs. I think the industry, it's necessary. I think there's so much value in making just a fun movie. I did not want Gladiator 2 to be that. I wanted Gladiator 2 to be as impactful as Gladiator 1 was. And that is a steep goal. That is very difficult to do. The landscape is different. We're in a different time. Things are just so different than when the first one came out in 2000, 2001. Dan had also commented on the storytelling. So Tej, like, you were aligned there. I've said this many times, Tej. You've been in the spaces with me for at least a year now. Thank you so much for being my host. How many times have I said that no matter how predictable, we can still get a great film? I've said this multiple times with TV shows and films. I watch so much, from independent small films, short films, to 3-hour blockbusters, to like all genres, everything. I can kind of predict most things, so I can't use that as a criteria on if a movie blows me away, if it's great. The Penguin had a few, right? Our last year had quite a few predictable moments, but it still threw enough at me that I was like, I'm enjoying the ride. And so from my perspective, if you can be predictable and that can be a criteria or a slight setback for me, there's a little bit of a problem. Because it shouldn't, and I've seen it done where it's not. I've seen the predictability happen, but what I'm seeing on screen is so damn cool and so great. And, we're being honest today. I think Gladiator 2 was a good movie. I think we had a lot of fun. The kills shake me to this day. I watched it a few days ago, a week ago, I think. The kills were insane. Okay, I can name films that have like just fucked me up permanently. Final Destination, Jaws, Deep Blue Sea, A Law-Abiding Citizen. Like, I can tell you all the movies that have kills, that a lot of the Scream films, like that. And so Gladiator 2 is up there. That's meaningful. Like, there are some kills in there that Denzel had, that Paul Mescal had, that I was like, damn. Oh, my ears. Oh, my body. Oh, my head. Oh, like everything. So we got that, which is, to your point, Teach, that's that Ridley Scott. You're going to get it. That's why Gladiator was so fire too. You're going to get those action shots. You're going to get the war. You're going to get the death. You're going to get the blood. You're going to get the, oh my God, what just happened? But where are we suspending disbelief? Leo, welcome to the stage. Tell us how you felt. Tell us what's going on. Tell us what's going on. This is
Good
what
good
we
evening.
watch.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everyone's having a good week. Hope everyone enjoys their Thanksgiving. I I agree with what both of you have said, actually. Problem is, as a predictable movie,
Yeah.
it didn't mesh. It didn't mesh at all. Like, not at any point did it mesh. You have Pedro Pascal as one of your headlining actors of the movie, and he's not connected to his role. I watched him play a role very similar in Game of Thrones when he played Oberyn Martell. When I say similar, I mean the time period where there's no guns, there's no modern technology,
Right.
right? And he flawless. One of my favorite characters of the entire show of Game of Thrones.
By far.
Here you have him. One moment he's killing Lucius's wife. The next moment, he dislikes Lucius, and the very next moment, I love you, and I laid my life down for you because of your grandfather. What the fuck is this? No, there's no synergy. It was too sped up. That plot
Mm-hmm.
line was too sped up. And to Tej's point, you're right. I don't blame Lucius. I blame the writing. It's the plot lines. The plot points were they had holes everywhere. The movie lost me the second I saw sharks, because what are we talking about? What do you gave me a rhino? You gave me a rhino that was irrationally low. This is not even a proportionate rhino. Fine, I'll allow it. You cracked this rhino and you survived. You cracked this rhino's horn and you survived it, right? And I'll allow it, even though the rhino charged you full charge. You didn't move, but hey, cool, whatever, right? And now we're filling the Colosseum up with water. Also, you spent the duration of this movie under the Colosseum. Why are you not drowning when it's now being flooded with water? Fine, so be it.
I'm
In
telling you.
in history, there have been 4. Because this is the thing. No, there actually the Colosseum historically has been filled with water. It's been done 4 times historically, 2 times with the Colosseum. The times that it has happened, it's happened outside the Colosseum in a nearby lake that was excavated. So historically, this is shit. Historically, what you did in the first movie, using Marcus Aurelius as a speaking point and using his history and what people know of him as the last good emperor of Rome. You've used the truth, you've used facts in the first movie to tether me to the movie. In the second movie,
Yes.
you're using history again, but now you're giving me a naval fight in the Colosseum, one in which historians speculate is even possible. 2, if it was possible, you'd be using flat bottom boats, right? Which means there's no sharks in the goddamn water. The sharks set me the fuck off. It would be a reenactment at best, right? Fine. You give me sharks, you give me dog baboons.
Baboons. Yep.
There was these things were not even genuine baboons. They had no red ass. It was just a monkey, a CGI monkey that you're superior to.
Right.
Fine, so be it. The
Right.
highlight of the movie was Denzel sashaying around in the flowy robes, smiling,
cooking.
There was not everything was flawless about Denzel. The thing is, why was this story not connected to Lucius and Denzel better? You had so many better opportunities to connect the story. Another part that I had an issue with, the twins. First of all, why were the twins presented to me as though this is a high school play? They were in literally the same makeup that you would find at a high school play. What am I looking at? Number one. Number two, historically, those twins, they actually hated each other. They were not friends. They were not around each other. And that fucking CGI baboon that was appointed to the goddamn Senate at the end of the I'm done. Yeah, those are my points. I'm sorry. I was very fed up with the goddamn movie.
Leo, I am so glad you're here today. I could not agree more. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for bringing
The best part
up.
of the movie was the entrance, the opening cinematography, which was an ode to the first movie.
Correct.
I loved every part of the first 3 minutes of that movie. I was back. I was there. But you got me looking at Lucius playing with goddamn seeds because, Russell Crowe was playing with sand before he died. This does not tether me to the character.
Thank you.
You're just you have a stencil and you're just hitting bullet points, right? And you feel like, oh well, because I can carry this with beautiful cinematography, nice sounds, and good fight scenes, this will be a hit. Like you, Monique, this movie could have just been a movie. I would have loved it if it was just a movie, but you tethered it to Gladiator II. You didn't have to tether it to Gladiator.
You didn't have to do this to Gladiator. You didn't have to do this to the Gladiator universe. You didn't have to.
That's all I'm saying. And you deviated from history. You was using history in Gladiator II. Gladiator, the original, was a story about revenge, start to finish. And we've seen stories done like that. I don't give a fuck if I've seen it. I'll watch 5 more stories like that. You've seen movies that are about for example, Donnie Brasco. No, Italian Job was similar to Takers, which was similar to Ocean's 11, 12, and however the other ones they are, right? We can do that all day. They were all good movies. I don't got no problem with that.
No, ain't no problem. Here's the thing. You know, I'm glad you said what you said, and I want everybody else to chime in too, based on what you felt about what he shared. Leo is also an actor, so he's deeply embedded into this industry. Robert, we have on stage, that is a screenwriter, director, producer. Dan is a usual, normal, what we watch is always there, is very well connected to film for many, many decades. Tej has his own film podcast. This is a great group here. I'm your designated facilitator, as always, your lovely show host and moderator. I've been talking about film for 4 years. I've been making film and television for 4 years. I'm deeply embedded in this industry as well. Nothing we are saying is far-fetched. Tej, I wanted to talk about suspending disbelief a little bit more because this is not the first time we've talked about this. And Taj, come on up to stage. My industry leaders, well, come on up here. I told you where I suspended my disbelief. I told you where I drew my line and my boundaries. And it was the fucking sharks. Guys, If you know anything about me, it's actually Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, whatever you say. Every single Thanksgiving week, I watch shark movies. Now, that's like me saying I breathe air because I watch shark movies all the time. But I make it a point to watch shark films during Thanksgiving week. I know everything about sharks, more than the average human being. The only person that knows more about sharks is people that actually go and have like the time to go and spend energy with them in the ocean, okay? How did you get the sharks in the Colosseum? I create whatever animal you want. Create the dog, baboon, assless baboon, monkey, claw. Create it. Fine. Create the insanely huge rhinoceros with just it was so big, and we saw the rhinoceros head being eaten later or before, which was a little bit weird to me, but cool, but weird, but fine. So we're eating rhinoceros head. Okay. How did you get the shot? What? And I'm also a civil environmental engineer. I do this. Like I could, if you told me you wanted water in your office, I could get the system for you to be able to do this. Who built this? How fast was that built? Because you really just kind of told me that they were filling the thing. Like the camera panned to it so we could see. Oh, let's give the audience an understanding of how they filled this place with water. You guys saw that. They zoomed in specifically on the contraptions that put water into the Colosseum. How did you get the sharks in the Colosseum? And how did you maintain the water beneath the sand that Lucius just had to grab in his hand? Again, I love the term you're using, Leo, tethered. I didn't feel tethered to Paul Mescal's character, Lucius. I didn't feel tethered in the first 3 minutes to and invested. I talk about being invested in characters a lot. I have to be invested in your main character. I have to be invested in Pedro Pascal and Denzel Washington. And I think y'all hit the mark. But Paul, you show me this guy, and he's a guy being a bro, being a dude, being a guy. He's a guy. We get it. And then he loses his wife, which, Tej, to your point, you looked at me, but I also looked at you. She finna die. Like we were 48 seconds into the film, and we were like, she's a soldier. Oh, she's dead. What do you mean you're sending a woman? Oh, thanks for the feminism and women in male dominated things. She's dying. Then it was like, oh, Pedro Pascal is married to dang, I need to please someone hold me accountable and give me the name of that actress. She did a phenomenal job. She was fucking fantastic on screen every time.
Connie
I was like,
Nelson.
huh?
Connie Nelson to me.
Thank you, Miss Nelson. I was like, okay, she's gonna die. I was like, she's dying. Now and then like it took probably Tej, how long did it take? 45 minutes? 45 seconds we made the first prediction, 45 minutes we made the other one, where it's like, okay, well, Pedro's dying, his wife is dying, and that's his mom. And again, you can do predictable things, but make it fucking good. Tether me to something. Make me feel like what's happening matters. Like I want to be in there. The only time I really felt like I was in the room in those Gladiator times was when Denzel was, adjusting his robe for the 85th time. Adjust that robe, Denzel. Why am I talking about Denzel adjusting his robe in a Gladiator II film? It's not giving what it needs to be gave. Taj, welcome to the stage. Talk to us. How did you feel?
Hi, everybody. So, Miss Petrino knows this. I've never seen the first Gladiator. So, I was just bought in because of Denzel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do extreme violence in movies and stuff like that. It's a bit much. But with that said, before I went, I threw Gladiator on for like 30 minutes to just get a feel, just to get a feel. So, I'm expecting to go in there and watch something that feels vintage, feels of a different time.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the movie was too glossy.
Mm.
And to y'all's points about 10 minutes ago, we didn't need this to be in the Gladiator universe. One, because I was able to figure out what was going on no sooner did it start. But they could have and should have just built the movie around Denzel and his character. Because for the first hour, I was kind of like, okay, like y'all are talking about Oscar nods, and for what? Because he's just here again in his
Hello.
rings, and with the
Hello.
gown. like, giving life with the gown and, delivering some lines.
Hello.
But based on the performance in the second half of the movie, the dynamic with him and the twins with terrible makeup and all that, that's
Hello.
the that's the drama I needed. Gladiator Son was on my nerves. I can't. How many times can we get the same flashback going? How many times can we give a parallel? It just felt like they just wanted to do a sequel since Hollywood is big on sequels right now. And there, to me, was a more masterful way to do it, scripting wise, story wise, but also I did not like how the film looked. It looked like it was shot with people thinking about how it would look on social media. It was just a little too glossy, too
Talk about it.
perfect. The people were too clean also. Like they should look a little like a little rough. Like they don't
Hello.
wash their legs.
Hello.
Um and I wanted more of that. But then also we don't need wildlife. I was really upset. The monkeys, where are we? Where are we? When did
Why?
monkeys really, truly, baboons, whatever? When did they actually really look like that? Because they look like monkey, like hyena dogs to
That's what the
me.
other. I was like, there's another animal here, and I can't get it.
Yeah, they look like monkey hyena dogs to me, and I didn't like that. But then also sharks, guys. So you transported them in the tank. So in my mind, I'm like, so there's a tank somewhere. Then I felt like, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but I just got here.
Please, no. This is what we're here for.
I felt like some storylines were underdeveloped,
Um,
like the doctor. If the doctor says I too was a gladiator, I'm going to need him to tell a part of the story or give us a flashback. I
or
needed,
step in at some moment and show the
yes,
gladiator-ness.
I needed that. And then, oh boy, who Denzel had to run up on, like, this is my house now. I needed us to see the sexual tension come out a little bit more. I needed a little bit more from that. It didn't need to be long and drawn out, but he was just obsessed
Yes.
with Denzel, but also scared of him, but attracted to
Move.
Denzel, but couldn't breathe around him. I
Move.
needed a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, I
Hmm.
needed a little bit more of that. Pedro Pascal could have been anybody. Any white actor could have played Pedro Pascal. It was not. I was not moved,
And
not
Pedro
once.
Pascal is a phenomenal
Yes.
actor. He is almost scary good at what he does. I
Yes.
hated that. I hated that. I hated
And
it.
if this was the first thing I had ever seen him do, I'd have been like, wow. And Gladiator Boy should
Leave.
have killed him immediately. I was like, I don't understand how you didn't kill this man just off GP. Just, shake it up. Just shake it up a little bit. Just kill him. That's what I was waiting for.
It was the arrow moment too where he missed.
Like, please, because you don't you
You
bit
don't you don't miss,
you bit a monkey dog hyena, and then you're telling me with
but
the
you
bow and
missed.
arrow you missed? Please, like, get me out of there. But
Get me out of
Denzel in the last hour, Denzel in that last hour is really why we were all at that movie,
Correct.
and he reminded us exactly how good he like really is. Because once he flipped, I was like, oh God, like,
Me too. I was shook.
it's scary here. And then he died too fast. I needed that to be a little bit more dramatic. But that,
Thank you. I
it was just
100% agree.
a
I
lot of
want to
things.
I want to expound on the glossy, but I want to let Tej talk. Tej, thank you, my lovely co-host, for keeping your hand up and waiting. Talk to us.
I had no issues with the more fantastical elements of the movie. I didn't mind the animal life. I don't mind that the guy's riding a rhino. Like, I didn't
You
mind that
don't mind
stuff.
my sharks
Also, I
that were transported and most likely would have died in
no,
that type of heat
I've
without
watched
water.
Sharknado with you. You didn't ask these questions of the Sharknado movie. How did the sharks get in the tornado and
That
survive? Like,
You
who
is
cares
expected
about
that
that?
in
physically
I don't care
possible.
about that.
Sharknado.
First of all,
I didn't care about it. Ridley wanted to flood the Colosseum in the first movie, and the studio didn't let him. So he's like 97 years old. He's like, "Look, I want to flood the Colosseum. If you let me do that, I'll make my
flood the
movie." So I
Colosseum.
didn't
There
necessarily
are
care
not
about that.
sharks going to be in there. Were the shark kills even that
Well,
great for you?
yes, I always love when you can just throw some random animal life into the Coliseum. I'm into that. So I didn't have a problem with that. My issues were all
Storytelling.
kind of what Taj is saying. It's the storytelling. Denzel Washington is like 70 something years old. And if he becomes our big bad, that's cool because he's the best actor we got on screen. So I love that. But he's the big bad, but then it's going to come down to a sword fight. We've never established that Denzel can fight. we did hear that he also was a slave, but we don't know that he could fight. And even if he could fight 40 years ago, we have no reason to think that he's going to beat our gladiator in
Not at
single
one point in
combat.
the movie.
So
Right.
we have then we have a Ridley Scott setup where all the two warring factions are coming into a big field for a battle. This is Ridley's bag. This is what he does. This is literally how he starts the first movie. Like, perfect. We're finally going to get our big Ridley war scene. We got a naval scene, but now we're going to get the Ridley ground war. And then it just
And we
doesn't
don't get it.
happen. Like, I'm fine with Denzel being the big bad, but he should be the leader of the other army. And then we could have at least them fight a little bit. But having Paul Mescal, who's 30 years, 40 years the junior of Denzel, have a final fight was not, there's no stakes. There's literally no
Literally no
stakes there.
stakes.
And so my issues are all beat point storytelling, and I totally agree about the Pedro point. They gave that man quite
Nothing to
literally
do.
nothing to do. He had nothing to do, and he's too talented of a
Too
guy
talented.
to have nothing to do on
They
screen, and he should always pop on screen, always,
always.
always, always. So those were my big issues with the movie.
You know, I'm glad you brought up the scene that we did not get that we should have gotten, because there's at least 10. But the ending of that movie really fucked with me, guys. I really had a problem. To your point about the glossiness, Taj, and Tej, to your point about not getting the Ridley Scott war that we got in the first film, which was about 10 minutes of just absolute insanity in the Gladiator that we got about 24 years ago. This is how granular I got with it. The moment where we get, oh, he's Russell Crowe's son, which was like the 18th time they told us. They had to tell us 18 times he was his son. We get it. Okay? We understand. He put on his armor and went out there to battle. And killed his whatever. We get it. His stepdad. We get it. Why was he sitting in the Colosseum by himself picking up dirt? And why was the shot from the hands back up with this purpley orange beautiful sky that would have lit his hands differently? I know I'm getting really granular here, but what was the CGI sky shot after him picking up dirt and hear me, mother, hear me, father? Not into it. That did what? What? I think I was the only person that was also taken out of the film at the very end. Why was the sky purpley pinky peach, but then the lighting when we go back to his hands to give it like a grayish tone, which is a little bit more appropriate, right? Given that you're just trying to set the mood that he's devastated and grieving and, suffering from loss, and maybe give me a point to the Gladiator 3 moment. But it's just another flashback. It's the 87th flashback of the film. And that's how you chose to end the movie? Why? Why, what for? And why did it look like that? And to further the glossiness and the makeup, Leo, thank you so much for bringing up the Twin Emperors. We had a chance with the Twin Emperors to really turn up. Those are really, really, really fun characters. Though that could have been way more fun. And it was almost really fun. I got excited when they were excited about the scenes. You think Game of Thrones, right? Just for recency bias, you think there's plenty of other comparisons I could make, but let's stick with the Game of Thrones. It's what most people are familiar with. You get those moments where we're watching people fight. The stakes are high. There's bets. There's people being betrayed and used and manipulated. But the dynamic between the twins carries so much of the film, especially regarding the Roman citizens and how they feel about the twins and the emperors and how they feel about a successor and how they feel about the entertainment in the Colosseum. Why was the makeup that my goddaughter could do? And no shade to my goddaughter. She probably could do a better job. Shout out to makeup and wardrobe when it came to Pedro, Mommy, and Denzel. I don't know what happened, why the twins were also in a separate movie. They were great. Keep them in the movie. Keep them with us. Keep us shook every time they're on screen that they're going to do something insane to someone in the room. That there was moments where the older twin, the one that got killed, the one that got cooked, there were moments where he was nerfed in a way that I wasn't into that. Don't nerf him. There's a clear headbutting between these two guys, and you should let that happen. Even with Lucius shooting Pedro Pascal, his stepdad, I'm gonna call him his stepdad, I'm being funny. Even him shooting his stepdad, maybe he doesn't kill him, but let the arrow hit him. You know, let him struggle. Show me some struggle, and not just this binary kill or not killed. Like, we only got Lucius struggling with wildlife and humans for a little bit, but no one else had like a moment where it's like, damn, I don't know if he gonna survive that. Give me that with Denzel's character, Aquarius, or whatever his character is. Give me that where he's kind of down bad for a moment, and we are not sure if he's going to survive. Tej, they tried to give us the dramatic moment where we knew we were going to get, I love to say this, the Super Bowl between Paul Mescal's character and Denzel's character. And it was while he was in the jail or the lockdown, whatever, prior to the Colosseum, whatever they do with the gladiators, when he was with his mom, and he was like, I'm going to kill him. And come on now. Well, of course you're going to kill him. He's 87 years old. And for as far as we know, he can't even fight. He just hires other people to fight and make money. So I can't be invested in Denzel's fall now, which is a big deal. That should be a big deal in this story. It should be a big deal that we're seeing this rich, gorgeous black man ascend to the top and then fail miserably in the end. That should be a big deal. As soon as a young, white, buff man that lost his wife says he's going to kill Denzel, well, yeah. Now I'm just like, okay, well, hopefully he makes it cool. And then we get a 35-second water pond creek scene, and we don't get the Ridley Scott war scene. I feel like you played in my face. Don't do that to me. This is a Gladiator film. Dan, talk to us. And then Bubbly Brown, I see you joined. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. There are so many story issues, I guess. And one of the things that kind of took me out, and I tend to not really care about the story, or I try not to, especially in movies like this. But like, if I recall, the end of Gladiator 1, he kills Joaquin Phoenix, he dies, but like the Senate is going to take back over. It's kind of like a happy ending.
Correct.
And apparently none of that happened in the Gladiator 2 world. It just went right back to like Caligula style degeneracy. And part of Gladiator 1 was how much he loved his wife. And if his kid is the same, like it didn't really check out that he had an affair with Connie Nielsen, because that kind of undercuts his character, I think. So everything, and I really try not to care about that kind of stuff, because it's just like, oh, it's just a movie, but it really, it just didn't get how it was a sequel to it wasn't a sequel to the movie I watched.
Come on, somebody. Because what did we get? We got the super 16 years after Maximus, da-da-da-da-da.
One last point, though, is having him fight the big bad. That's it happens in a lot of movies. I think of like John Wick 1, where the end fight is Keanu Reeves, who's clearly unkillable, against was it Michael Nyqvist or some like middle-aged Danish dude or something.
Right.
So you kind of get that, where you're like, this doesn't really, they have to make it even, but it doesn't make sense for the fight to be even. That's absolutely true in this movie.
Yeah, it was never going to be even. So I can't be in this grave situation with you and in these scenes with you that you want me to, because you gave me the scenes for a reason. We're talking about Ridley Scott and team here. These are experienced, seasoned people in the industry. They've made many, many, many great films together. They know what they're doing. Everything is intentional. Every scene is intentional. Every single scene. Everything has to make sense when you write it. And so I know that what you're doing when you give me those scenes, and if they still feel like a slap in the face, I'm not invested. I don't feel the gravitas. I don't feel it. Everyone's gonna die, and usually that's cool. Usually it's cool. Predictability is not a bad thing in a film. I will not grade a film. I don't grade films at all. But I would never, if you were forcing me to grade a film, use predictability as a negative thing. That just gives credence to how not great enough everything else was, because stories should make sense. And that gives leeway to a little bit of predictability at times. And that shouldn't take me out of the film. And I just felt like I was just watching a movie for 85% of the movie. I was like, okay, cool. Cinematic, fun. Fine. Go ahead, Bam. Welcome to the stage. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. It's been a minute. I'm gonna just rattle off something real quick, because I'm pretty sure these are some points that have already been talked about, but I'm getting in here late.
Cool.
Not to be a TV tropes, TV troper. This film needed a dragon. And what I mean by that is it needed a Darth Vader to the Palpatine, somebody for Lucius to fight, and you feel like it's an actual fight.
Okay, come on,
Versus,
somebody. I like this.
old man Denzel, who by the way, Denzel was probably the only person I was like, oh, he doing his thing in this movie.
Yeah,
But we needed a dragon.
I
The
feel
the
that.
twins that you mentioned, like you said, I felt they felt nerfed. I felt like I needed a little bit, you know, more something. Like I
Something.
was I sat through this movie and was like, what am I watching? You know, because is this a Gladiator sequel or is this a
Right,
movie in the same universe as Gladiator?
right.
Even the action scenes, even the Colosseum scenes, because we went back and watched Gladiator 1, me and the boys, like the week before. We were like, we're gonna rehash this. And I'm like, yo, this movie, I didn't feel there were bigger set pieces. We have a
For sure.
naval battle, we got monkeys, we got bigger set pieces, but
Hmm.
yeah, it
Bigger.
didn't, they weren't hitting for me. Nothing hit for me. I was just like, it was cool. Would I watch this again? No. Did they have any banger lines? No. If it the only banger lines they had were things that were already said in the first movie.
In the first movie. Thank you.
Yeah.
They
And
had plenty of
it
banger
what I
lines. The only thing that made it more banger was that maybe Denzel delivered a couple of them. That's all.
right. And so what I told one of my boys, I was like, yo, have you seen the second 300? Like there's a 300 sequel and it pales in comparison because it's like they try to do the same stuff, but it's not delivered the same. It's the store brand version of quality. You know what I mean? Like it's the stuff I can get at Publix or Kroger's. I don't know what y'all got out there in LA, but it's like this is like Kirkland, water. You know what I'm saying? Where's the Fiji? You know what I mean? I had Fiji in the
And I
first movie. Why am I drinking Dasani right
And
now?
I like that you said that. I'm going to steal your term and Taj. It was bigger and glossier set pieces, but they still weren't better. And I
Yeah.
wonder, what filmmakers are taking from this. As a filmmaker, I'm like, you can make it bigger and better, or bigger and glossier, and still it might not be better. And it must be tough to do, right? And we all know, we are in an unfortunate time in this industry where we're calling back to our former movie stars. This is why What We Watch exists, because we need independent filmmakers, marginalized ones specifically, to really get their stories on screen. So we're not getting reheated versions of reboots and sequels. We're getting real remixes. We're getting real new stories. We're getting real new lead characters and stories that make sense, but that are also shocking, right? That take you on a journey both cinematically and in the script, that you're like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming, but it also makes sense for the character. And I think that was where, if you think about like a ping pong, like if movies are a ping pong table, like I feel like we hit the net a couple of times. We weren't seamless with maintaining predictability or maintaining the true character of or the true nature of each of these characters and motivations versus like giving me some shocking, great, better set pieces and better storylines and plot lines for each of these, like, sub stories. Like it just, with the twin and the emperors and the mom and the son. Can we talk about the mom and the son? Can we talk about the mom and the son? Hold on. Hold on a second. So Paul Mescal rejected his mom. Lucius rejected his mom and was like, actually, mom, I love you. I fuck with you. Actually, mom, you're the best ever. Strength and honor. When did the transition happen?
When they were about to kill her. You might not fuck with your mama, but you don't want somebody to kill her.
but
That's
like,
not what happened.
But the
but like,
dialogue was not, I'm here to protect you, mom. So then fine. Give me, mom, I'm here to protect you. No, I don't fuck with you though. I don't want you to die. But I'm not all of a sudden your favorite son and I'm just this family-centered person. He is not a family-centered person. Throughout the entire movie, he's not family-centered. You killed the only person that mattered to me. You came in at 30, I'm 30 something years old, and you saying you my mom. I rejected you the first 2 times you visited me in jail. Now you're about to die and now I have sympathy. I don't maintain your personality, again, your motivation as a character, and make the dialogue, I'll fucking defend your honor forever, but I am still nothing to you, mom. We are nothing. The 20 minutes before it was, if your son was here, he would say this. Then the next scene 20 minutes later was, mom, thank you for this ring. You are the most important woman to me on the planet. Thank you for this ring. What? You didn't give a fuck about her like 2 fights ago. Oh, Monique, well, he killed, her husband. So, she died, or he didn't kill her, he died. So he fucking hated him from the beginning. That's the point of the movie. He hates that man. Why would he give a fuck about his mom and then killing all of a sudden your family? It felt like you took my leftovers and you put it in the microwave for a minute and a half, but you put the power on wrong. So now my food's still a little cold. My food is still a little cold. It warmed up a little bit, and I appreciate it, and I get to eat. I'm glad I didn't have to cook today, but my food is still a little cold. Can you warm it up a little bit more for me? Like, you get what I'm saying? Am I crazy here? I did not like that. I didn't like that. He switched too fast for me. No, I didn't like that. Bam, go ahead, and then Leo.
And this is something that, like, as a burgeoning writer myself, it's learning to treat your characters like actual characters and not
Actual people.
actual people, and not just cardboard cutouts, or even like what you just described sounds like how I'd imagine a toddler playing with action figures. Like, I hate you, but now I love you because I must protect you. But we didn't see why. There's no conversation, no words, no nothing. No,
I
like,
like that
let
comparison.
let these people be people. People have, like, even if we have pressure and we have beef, but there's a principle that I'm going to stand on. Our our beef, it must be addressed. But because there's a principle I'm going to stand on, I'm going to defend you in this moment. But we have to show that. We have to have that. If that does,
Thank
if the audience has to put those pieces together and come to that conclusion, well, that's way too much work for the audience to do, especially when we got to worry about the economy of time in a film.
Thank you.
Nah, bro, like, it,
A lot of
it ain't
time,
hitting, like you said.
I like the way you said that. I like the way you said that. Tej, what you just shared is, remember when I tried to make that one movie better? I ain't gonna say the name out loud. I might say it later. And I kept trying to make the movie better because I'm like, ooh, they could have done this. What? So what if Paul Mescal's Lucius? Is it Lucius? So what if Lucius' mom dies and she dies knowing that her son still didn't really fuck with her? Why is that? Why is that a bad thing? Why couldn't have we committed to that? That's great. I try to defend your honor, but just know I don't really fuck with you, and I don't know who you are, and I don't feel tied to this family. But I don't want you to die, so I'm gonna do my best because that's what I do. I save people. We developed that Paul Mescal has a soft spot. So if he has a soft spot, right? Because men, we're not going to don't fight in Rome, and don't stay free, and don't be a toy and a puppet for the that was established. But then when his mom comes in 2, 3 times to jail, he's standing on business. So is he soft or not? And
I,
then all of a sudden he's soft. That was half baked to me. That was slightly reheated to me. I need 2 more minutes. Oh, hi August. Hi my love. Hey baby. He agrees with me, Teach.
Yeah, sorry. He's fed. He's got his first haircut, so he's fed.
Did you have something to say? Go ahead.
I think that they were hamstrung by the setup of the mom gets rid of the kid or sends the kid away, but then
Right.
he comes back. It doesn't really make sense that if it was not in danger of death, or maybe she fought. It makes more sense if they both leave and then you can separate them later. I don't know
Yes.
why she stayed and he left. It felt like we only did that so that she could be married to Pedro Pascal, which was like not interesting at all.
Right. We only did certain things so that we could do other things. I don't like
Shoehorning.
that. Robert, chime in here. As a script writer, that is fundamentally how you should write a script. But like, can we make it make sense? Yes, we write things so other things can happen. And before you speak, the ring mattered, right? Remember? Oh, family heirloom. Why the fuck would Paul Mescal's character give a fuck about a family heirloom? Then in the end of the movie, I'm like, oh, that's why, because this helped the doctor storyline. But then to Taj's point, I'm like, you nerfed the doctor too. He was just a doctor that ended up helping deliver a message, but then he didn't struggle. No one thought he was weird. Someone just said, "Oh, this ring is where did you get this ring that we were just introduced to 10 minutes ago, audience?" Where did you get this important ring? One of the most important things in this film. One of the most important objects in this film. This matters. We will start a war. And then you don't get the war. I don't, we're just doing stuff. We're just doing stuff. Robert, talk to me. We're just doing things so that other things can happen. You know, to Teacher's point about the wife, like, we just kept her there so she could marry Pedro and then try to overcome the empire, but then immediately failed with that too. Please remember that storyline, guys. There's at least 35 storylines that happen here, but they happened and then they were done. Robert, what do you think?
I think Ridley had concepts of an idea of what he wanted the story to be, and that he wanted his animals in the first one. He couldn't do it, and now that they're allowing him to do it, he fit that narrative to be around what he wanted to be instead of film that he couldn't do the first time. That's what it
The
kind of
script
feels like.
started with sharks and bababoons, and he was like, "All right,
Yes,
now we're
yes,
gonna make
yes.
something around this."
That's kind of what it seems like, just to be honest. But I mean, how I looked at the film, this is just me, how I looked at the point of view is that Denzel is the main character in the film
Okay.
because he's honestly the one who actually got the most character development from beginning to end. He actually had an arc. He changed, or he met his goal, even though it was short lived. He still met his goal of what he was looking to do. He was looking to bring down Rome. He was looking to become its emperor. He was looking to take down the two emperors. He met his goal. So I think out of everybody, the screenwriter had the best or the clearest sense of purpose for Denzel's character. Everybody else did not have that same sense of purpose. And that's why you need an actor like Denzel to bring that through, because when everybody else doesn't have a clear arc or purpose, you need an anchor like that to bring the story home, even if it's not the greatest story to be told. So it was one of those things where it's like Denzel holds this movie together. Like
He does.
if what's the movie? Spider-Man: Homecoming, when he's like on the ship, the ferry's coming apart, and he has all these different strings, and he's
Right.
pulling the bow back together, but he misses one spot, and then so Iron Man has to come and save him. That's literally what Denzel is doing. There's like all these strings that are there, and Denzel like, has that one little thing that helps lift the movie a little bit above it. But this is one of those things like I feel like Ridley thought he started with, I want baboons, I want rhinos, I want tigers, I want sharks in the Colosseum. Figure it out else out what else we can do from here. But that's kind of how I felt about
That's
what he was trying to do.
That's very, very fair. And I know we've shared our gripes. Usually I have my hashtag gripe guys. And, I think we were all very accurate. It looks like we were all gripe guys. I didn't have a terrible time. I did not walk away out of that theater upset. I was more so disappointed, like a parent. I'm like a parent. I did not walk out upset. I was not like that was a waste of my time. I've walked out of films before early sometimes, and I was like, this and people think I'm a film critic. I am not a film critic. I'm not here to grade. I'm not here to say what is good for you or not. We are here to evaluate the art and how it made us feel, how the characters performed, what the people put into it, what the scriptwriters gave us, what the cinematography looked. We're here to chat real rap raw, okay? And I think with this movie, we just got a movie, and I said that earlier, and it's okay. We just got a movie. I don't think anything was supposed to make sense. I think marketing, we got guys. This is marketing, and it didn't take too much marketing because you're coming off of the foundation of Gladiator, which was groundbreaking. It shook you. Taj, I know you haven't seen the first one. It's so good. You got Joaquin, you got Russell Crowe. I mean, the movie was just so well done. It was like you're bright eyed and like beady eyed when you're watching the film, and so you kind of have this expectation going into Gladiator 2 with Denzel Washington. You're like, oh, this is gonna go crazy, and everything else was lukewarm outside of your fight scenes and outside of Denzel cooking and outside of some of your most incredible kills that stuck with me. Bam, go ahead.
Just to chime in, this is something I mentioned to my homeboy as we discussed the film like day of, and I made a reference to this film needing a dragon, just like Palpatine needed Vader. Again,
Yes.
Denzel's character, and to your point about not I didn't walk out of this movie like, oh, I was wasting my time, not at all.
No,
But
not at all.
Denzel's character, his arc is quite literally not not one to one, but very similar to Senator Palpatine then becoming Emperor Palpatine in the prequel movies of Star Wars, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
You know, and he's you know, he's manufacturing conflict to then get emergency powers and wrest control of the Senate. Boom, then he establishes himself
For his own
again
personal gain. Right.
for his own personal gain. Again, why he needed a dragon, because while you're doing all this political stuff, you
Yep.
need somebody with some fangs. And Pedro
Some
Pascal
things.
could have been, you know, Mr. Fangs. He was a
I
little too soft for me. His
I
character was a
agree.
little too soft. And not love the movie, had a good time. Not I didn't love it, had a good time.
I had a good
But
time. We had a good
yeah,
time.
we had a good time.
Thank you, Ridley. We had a good time. I had a better time with Gladiator. Again, it's hard to just one-to-one Gladiator and Gladiator 2. It's hard to compare them. Mike, welcome to the stage. Tell us how you felt. This is
How
like
are you? Hey,
good. How are you?
good. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I saw the film. Yeah, I saw it Friday. And by the way, can we get rid of the 30-minute previews before the film? This is getting ridiculous in the
I
theaters.
mean,
I mean,
it used to be
30
like
minutes?
15. Now it's 30. Yeah,
What is going on? It's like a sitcom episode. I mean, what we do 30 minutes. People walking in. Yeah, it's 7 o'clock. Get 7:30. You won't miss a bit. But it's getting too ridiculous in these
exactly.
previews.
I agree.
But I think this film shows sequels just don't work for a lot of films, especially 24 years apart. It's still
Exactly.
Godfather 1 and Godfather 2. I mean, after that, I don't know. These sequels, I don't have to tell you, but I was thinking about this movie, and you guys are touching on everything and hitting all the great points. It's
Mhm.
almost like now in the CGI age, all these effects. This movie, everything in the ring, right, were the big scenes and all the craziness that went on there. It's almost like they relied more on all of that stuff than the story. Maybe in
Absolutely.
the day we didn't have that opportunity, you do the story more. But now
Yeah.
there's so many other things you could do. They think, oh, that'll sell the film. And maybe it does, but that's what bugs me these days. It's like they get away from good stories sometimes when they could do these kind of
Yes.
effects, you know? And I think
Thank
that's
you
we're
for
up
saying
against.
that. And that's why what we watch is here because we get it,
Yeah.
guys. We're touching on everything. You listen to this space on YouTube, you share this, and we're touching on everything. We're gonna get into the film, and this is why the industry needs this community to like, hey, we see it. Even the casual moviegoer sees it. We can tell. We know what's happening. You're not invested in the script writing, you're not invested in the screenwriters, you're not invested in the storytelling. You're just looking to sell a movie, which is fine. We're all here to make our money. All right. This is an industry. I've reminded us in this What We Watch chats many times. This is an industry. The main bottom line in the capitalistic world that we live in, our Rome, our Colosseum is, are we going to make money? And do we like the person making the stuff that we enjoy? We get it. But like we can still preserve great stories and do that. And I don't and it saddens me that people aren't considering that in the same way. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's funny. I was talking about the previews before, and all the previews I see of these films are like everything's like almost fantasy, futuristic or something, and dragons and this and that. And it's like, where are the stories, man? Can we just where are the Kramers versus Kramers, man? I mean, where is this stuff? Where is this greatness I used to watch in the 70s and the 80s and great storytelling? Where's the Saturday Night Fevers? And you know what I'm talking about? I
Come
mean,
on.
just where are these? And there's something you got to look. Okay, I get there are films like that, but so much more is just now big, bold, special effects, CGI. It gets boring.
It's
That's not what it's all about,
absolutely.
but that's what they're relying on so much. And listen, this movie, Denzel's Denzel. He's still incredible.
Yep.
And the twins, like you said, they should have fleshed that out more. I didn't recognize, my daughter told me that's the one kid from Stranger Things and another kid, I
Yep.
forget where he's from. And, good performances and good seeing Connie Nielsen again, that,
Exactly.
that, that was issues, but it just didn't, not like the first one. Like you touched on it, the first one, come on. I mean, it was just
Man,
incredible,
you were
but like I
shook
said,
when
it's hard
things
to live
happen.
up to. So it kind of, yeah, it was good, not great, right? And that's what it is. What
Exactly.
3 out of 5 stars, 3.5, whatever you want to say. It just wasn't that great film, but
The
people go see it. So
the
that's what I'm saying.
resounding that's the resounding kind of conclusion here. It's cool. You know,
Yeah,
I went and got my usual meal. It diminishing marginal utility. Like, it wasn't like this phenomenal 5-star Michelin, whatever, to where I'm, or, 3-star Michelin where I'm like, oh wow, this is life changing. I'll never forget this meal. It was like cool. Like I've had spaghetti multiple times. If you take spaghetti away from me, I'm gonna have problems. But like it was like leftover spaghetti. It's
yeah,
fine.
and it's also 2.5 hours. So if you're not going to make it as good, just make it two then. I mean,
Make it an hour and
yeah,
56.
yeah. If it's not that great, why you make it a longer? I
If
mean, what
you're
are we all
gonna, if
Scorsese
you're
out there now? Yeah.
right, and I fully agree. And before we leave, I want to say thank you to everyone. Please enjoy your families this weekend. We have been cooking on this show. I'm so excited. We are celebrating 4 years of these chats. Can you believe it? We've been doing this for 4 years. I'm telling you. We've been committed for 4 years. This community here is going to change Hollywood. Mark my words. Go to whatwewatch.net. See how you can support all of our amazing independent filmmakers. Shout out to Shayla Ruckel and the Off Brands. Go to my pages to see what that looks like. Theoffbrands.com, hashtag theoffbrands. Again, always be tapped in. We are going to talk about eventually the great films that don't rely on just the CGI, which is no problem. No shade to CGI. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. If you see my film with CGI, enjoy it. But I'm going to give you a great story too that you can attach to and you can remember. Before we go, I want everyone to tell me who they think the villain was in this. And that's usually a trick question, and it just gets everybody riled up, so I like to ask it real quick. Keep it brief and we'll shut this down. Who is the villain? Or what? Or which? Mike, who's the villain in the story? Or was it missing? Maybe that's the problem.
Boy, I mean, what went on there? You figure the second half of the film, Denzel wasn't a very nice guy, was he? I mean, he's slitting a throat, and he's,
Putting
you didn't see that
rods
coming.
in ears. Oh,
Yeah, all that stuff, so conniving and all. So I'll nominate him, but I'm sure there's some other ones too as well.
yeah. Tosh, what do you think? Thank you, Mike.
The mother is the villain.
I love this.
The mother is the villain. I couldn't stand her. She kind of knew how everything was going to end up anyway. There's no way she didn't. And it's kind of like, why don't you just warn the people you need to warn and take your L? Denzel, of course, at the end, but I'm not sure if I thought he was the villain because I feel like he was just going after what he felt he deserved. He was manipulative and like really, really wild.
But towards the end, yeah.
But yeah, it happened too fast. I don't know how he was masterminding the whole time, but for me, it's the mom.
I love that because for me also, it's hard for me to, and I'm the resident villain apologist of the internet, quite frankly. I can defend any villain except for the Penguin in Homelander. I'll defend him to the death, but I'm not going to feel like a person's rise to the top is devastating. I get the kills, but really Denzel was going to give our main character what he wanted. How is he the villain? Villains are always going directly against the main character and their desires. That's kind of how plot lines work for villainy. It's like you're the antihero, you're the villain because you're thwarting the plans of the protagonist or you're only focused on your own gains. But their paths were completely different. Paul Mescal just wanted Pedro to die because he killed his wife. And if you want to develop that story more, fine. But Denzel gave you that. So I'm like, Denzel, you cool with me? You're a slave that wants to be emperor now? It's only in Rome that a man like me could be that. That's triumphant. I don't think you're a villain. I think you're great. Good job. Good job being at the bottom and killing all them people to get to the top. Good for you. It's just, but then you're like, damn, he was kind of wild. Why you kill everybody like that? So, but in a Gladiator movie, I'm already like not moved by people killing people. That's kind of the heart of the film is you got to kill somebody. There's no other way to live in this universe. Robert, go ahead.
So there's a clear difference between a villain and an
Right.
antagonist. I definitely think Denzel was more of an antagonist to
Exactly.
Paul Pascal's character because the real villains were the emperors because he kept talking about his father or his grandfather's dream of Rome.
Mm.
And the emperor twins were in the direct opposite of what that Rome looked like. And so when they kept bringing that up, that's why those two were the villains to Paul Pascal's character,
Mm.
or Paul
Mescal's.
Mescal's
Yeah.
character. Sorry, Mescal's. Yeah,
Okay.
because they were opposed of the goals. Denzel gave him what he wanted, his desires. So Denzel was still more of an antagonist. It wasn't just a straight up villain
Exactly.
because Denzel wanted to burn everything down. In that aspect, Denzel was a joke.
Exactly.
He just wanted everything
And
to
I can
burn.
defend the Joker to no end as well. He makes too much sense. Dan, go ahead.
It was Denzel. I mean, it was sloppy for all the reasons you talked about, but I still think it was probably Denzel.
Fair enough. Okay, well, thank you so much, guys. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Enjoy your time off. Thank you. We are the best community to talk about film. Enjoy your What We Watch Wednesday. Bye.